Hello, fellow Americans. I'm coming to you from Clintondale's room 111 to talk about the 7th grade social studies test having to do with Mesopotamia. The first thing I want you to know about Mesopotamia is the area between the Tigris and Euphrates River. It's in southwestern Asia, and the word Mesopotamia means, it's Greek for land between two rivers. So it's important to understand that these rivers are going to have a major aspect in shaping the lives of people who lived in ancient Mesopotamia during the late Neolithic times and into early modern history. So let's get going and talk about what it was like in early Mesopotamia. First of all, the first settlements in Mesopotamia started in the foothills, and it was nice in the foothills. They had plenty of trees, they had rocks, they had places to grow food. It was a great place to live, and naturally, like all great places to live, lots of people moved there. And when lots of people moved to this spot, there was less and less food for each person to eat. So one of the first major problems of Mesopotamia is when the overpopulation or population increase caused a food shortage in the hills, and people had to say, well, where can we grow more food? So they decided to move down to the area of Sumer. Okay, Sumer is in lower Mesopotamia. It's closer to the Persian Gulf, and it's a lot more of what you would expect the Middle East to be like. I mean, it's dry, it's hot, it's flat, and it's really hard to grow food there. Okay, so one of the things that they had to deal with is they had to deal with controlling the water. So they built levees and dams, and they built these other things to control the water supply. Once the water supply was under control, they had to figure out how they were going to work together. There was all these small villages in Mesopotamia, and they dug these canals to bring the water to the crops. But then they realized that these canals would get jammed with this stuff called silt. So they had to figure out a system for cleaning it out, but, you know, like these communities had to work together. And when communities have to work together, you're going to find that there's going to be conflict. Okay, so we're going to have conflict because these communities aren't always going to want to work together. One of the aspects that Sumer had was it was large and flat, and there was no natural borders. So it was really easy for one village to get mad at another village and raid them or attack. So one of the things that they had to do was they started to build walls around their communities. And as these walls were built, more and more people lived in this walled area for protection. And because more and more people lived in this area for protection, those places called city-states ended up having their own ruler and their own farmland, and they were basically a country amongst themselves. There was all these city-states in Sumer that that were their own, like, individual countries. So let's just talk about some of the major aspects to this. First of all, there was food shortages. And because of the food shortages, they moved to Sumer. And because they moved to Sumer, they had to dig irrigation ditches. This required different communities to work together. This cooperation sometimes would end up in conflict. That conflict caused communities to build walls around themselves for protection. And once they had built walls around themselves, they had to make their own rules and have their own ruler, and they kind of became their own little city, nation, state, the city-state. And we're going to be learning more about that. These are the aspects of the early Mesopotamia, and I hope that you've watched this video and that you're studying for your test. And without any further talk, God bless you, and God bless America. Boom.